Here in Southern California, many of the hummingbirds will stick around. They'll be here all through the winter and into early spring until they're ready to leave. Our weather has not been that good. We've had a lot of bad storms, thunder and lightning and lots of wind, but as you can see, they still hang out in the trees, waiting for those feeders to be full. And even when bad weather comes in and things go blowing, they know in the morning when they get up, there will be feeders full and waiting for them, no matter what the weather is. Now, I know a lot of you across the United States do not have hummingbirds right now, and I know you're missing them. Believe me, I understand. I would miss them too if they weren't here. Now, our weather here is more mild, so they can still find water because things aren't frozen. We're not under snow. So as long as they can find water to wash themselves and to drink, that is a big plus for them. Of course, they need food, and that would be flowers, all kinds, wildflowers, flowers you plant in your garden. This attracts them, and they go deep inside those tubes of the flowers, picking out the nectar. Now, when they can't find enough, feeders are very important to them. Whatever type of feeders you put out, as long as it doesn't hurt them, then this is what they need. I make dots and peanut butter cups, as you just saw, and regular hummingbird feeders. You don't want anything that's going to drip down on them. You want something that they're going to dip their beak in and get the nectar as they need it. Now, knowing that they have food and they have water and having a garden around, they can collect little insects because that's an important part of their diet as well. It's not just pollen and nectar. They need to be able to wash off all the spider webs they get on their beaks and the pollen. That is what keeps them here because we're not under snow, and we do have a lot of flowers even in the winter, but they're never going to find enough nectar, not the amount of hummingbirds that we have, so we make sure that they have all they want here. So when spring comes, a lot of them will stay and have their babies. I know, like I said, you're missing them. Keep in mind, if you had them, they will return. And look, we're already into winter. And by spring, they're going to get ready and start thinking about the places they need to go. We're already now in the season where the days are going to get longer. And soon, they'll be heading back to where they belong. And that, most certainly, will be where you are because they know where they came from. They love your place. They were there. They had food there. Be it you put out hummingbird feeders or they find flowers around, wildflowers, all kinds. They will be back. Sit tight and think about it. It's only a few months away. We have one more season to get through. And then spring will be here before we know it. Flowers will be blooming. And soon you'll be looking out your window or walking about on a walk on the street and seeing hummingbirds fly around. So be aware that if you had them before, they will be back. In the meantime, a lot of them are here, plus other places throughout the United States that are a little bit warmer, where they can survive until the time is right. And if we're too cool for them, they just go further down south, be it Mexico or into Central America if they have to, until they start their travels. They're fascinating birds. To think how far they go. It is absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love how they forage around here when they're here in the spring, be it my tomato plants looking through flowers or hummingbird feeders hanging around. But keep in mind, they're in a better place right now, and when the time is right, they're going to return, and they're going to go back to you. Is this not too cute? This is sow thistle, and what they do with that, the fuzzy part, the seeds, they build their nests with it. They line them, actually, because, well, it keeps their eggs in a nice, soft, cushiony little blanket. And this way they can sit there and be comfortable. And of course, when spring starts and all the peach and nectarines start to blossom, they're right there doing what they're supposed to do, collecting nectar and pollen, and they're pollinating wildflowers, brassicas in the garden, all kinds of things. This is what they need, which if you're under snow, you don't have right now. And think of the amount of food they have to eat all day, because if they don't get enough, they perish. That's why it is good for us to help them if we have a lot of hummingbirds. If you have just a few, then a few flowers around your house, because of course they'll fly miles for food. they'll find enough. But when you have so many traveling through, it's always good to make sure we can put a little extra out. And the citrus trees, that's one of their favorite. I mean, after all, have you ever smelled an orange blossom or a lemon blossom? It smells like heaven. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for all that wonderful nectar. And they can take their time sometimes just getting the amount they want. And keep in mind, after they suck that nectar out, the next bird coming back won't find any nectar in there. It might rejuvenate in a few hours, but in the meantime, they've got to go somewhere else to look for more nectar. So that's why it's always good for us to put a little something out if we can. And remember, it's very simple for us to make. So we can make our own, we don't have to buy it. But they come to all types of flowers. It doesn't have to be red. You saw they come to white flowers and yellow flowers and green flowers if you've got. They just are looking for all the pollen and nectar that they can find. For them, most any flower will work. They'll check it out to see what's in there. Of course, some flowers have more nectar than others, and some have pollen and no nectar. Both of them is what they need, so that's what they look for. And like I said, they also need insects. So those are the three main things that they have to find. And a lot of times they go to trees up high in the sky. You'll look up and you'll see that tiny little bird checking out all those greenish yellow flowers, making sure that each one has something for him. And remember, if a bird had visited it, there won't be anything in there. And it's just adorable how they sit around looking and waiting to see where the next flower is going to be that they visit. So hibiscus and all kinds of flowers are perfect for your garden. Come spring, think about it. This is a moringa tree. They love the white flowers that open on that. How much nectar is in there? I'm not sure, but it's got a lot of pollen, and that's another thing they might be collecting. Apple ice. Look at hanging over a wall that we have here growing near our garden. They check each one out to see if there's anything left. But again, because we have hundreds and thousands that visit here, it is so important to put out feeders. So if they do not find enough, they can always come fly to a feeder, get that little extra that they need, and then they can go back into the gardens, into the hillsides, and forage around. So I really am into helping these little guys. After all, years ago, people didn't have a lot of yards. They just had, well, land, and wildlife was around and wildflowers. A lot of that has disappeared, especially in the cement cities, parking lots, and, well, you get my drift on that. So there's less flowers around for them, but we can help them in so many different ways, and believe you me, we do here. I can't even figure how many gallons we go through. A lot of times it's 2 gallons a day, sometimes it's 4 gallons a day. I've even gone through more than that. But that only means that the ones that were here didn't find enough to eat. And because of that, they come here, they drink very heavily at times, and swarms come in at the same time. But keep in mind, they don't travel together. They're just all going to the same place. And they drink a lot because, well, they didn't find a lot. Could be a hot day and the flowers didn't open. It could be a rainy day and the flowers drooped and they couldn't get to it. So if you can, put out your feeders. And if you don't have them, of course, you're not going to. But this is mainly to remind you that they may not be with you right now, but they are going to head back. Give them a few more months and they will be on their way. And you'll have them back in your gardens, back looking in your windows, saying, hey, where's that feeder you had for me last year? Because let me tell you something, they remember where every feeder is. I have seen this, I can prove it. When I move it, they come back looking for it. So you can make them, you can buy them, whatever you do is fine as long as they have food and it's a safe way for them to eat. Just keep it clean. That's all they need. And it's 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar and 1 cup of water. Do not use any other sugar, no powdered sugar that has cornstarch in it, no brown sugar, it has molasses, no honey. All that their body is not designed to metabolize. It just so happens, though sugar may not be the best thing for us, It is the right food for them, and they metabolize it perfectly, and that is what keeps them alive. So get that mixed up when you see them. You can store it up to a week in your refrigerator. Change the feeders if you can every day, but if it's really cold and they're around, you can do it every 2 to 3 days. I don't have to worry about that because my feeders are coming in about 5 times a day, being scrubbed and put back out. It's very busy around here, but we absolutely love it. We give them all the food they need, all the water they need to bathe and drink. And well, for shelter, the third thing that's so important, there's plenty of trees and bushes here for them to get into. Even on the rainiest days, they get deep inside the tree. They stay nice and dry, and they just wait until sunrise, until they're ready to fly around looking for food. Rain doesn't bother them. It rolls right off of them. They can fly in the rain. And I just wanted to remind you, they're coming home soon. With that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.